he said that he actually really cares about Athens, and the way that he sees to improve Athens is by asking honest questions to the citizens of Athens. Whereas why Socrates ended up dying was he was put on trial for corruption, and the state or the politicians began to get worried that Socrates was endangering Athens.
Those bastards.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like there was two different views, and luckily Socrates had he had a lot of influence, but he didn't have the power of making senatorial decisions, and that's why he ended up dying and was killed for, I think, corruption of the youth was his crime.
Wow. So, man, so that's interesting from our perspective now. Do you know what most people thought of that in that time? Was there a public consensus on that decision?
On the decision, I think most people, I can't really remember. There's a specific book that talks about, and it's the book is Socrates trying to defend himself in front of the Senate. And I don't know the title of that book, but it was written by Plato. And it's a dialogue of Socrates who decided to defend himself. He didn't want a lawyer. He wanted to defend himself, and he was just asking questions. And really, as a reader today, you see that if you've dived into philosophy at all, you kind of realize like, wow, Socrates is saying a lot of really good things. And it seems like the Senate of Athens is just kind of scared. And they just make this brash decision like, oh, let's kill him because he's endangering Athens. Whereas Socrates actually chose, he could have had the decision between, okay, either you're going to be hanged, I don't know if that's the way he actually died, or you can be excommunicated from Athens and you have to live on this Greek island, which actually wasn't Athens, right? Athens was its own city-state. So he would become an expatriate in some isolated island off of the coast. And he's like, no, I'm nobody if I'm like, I am who I am because of Athens. So I want to stay in Athens. I was born here. I want to die here. That's who I am. And so he chose death instead of excommunication from Athens. So Socrates is an extremely interesting person in history. He never wrote anything. He would just go in dialogue with people. But Plato was his student, and Plato would write about Socrates and use Socrates as his main character in a lot of his writings. But Socrates is extremely interesting. And I would argue, this is related to my channel a little bit more, but I would argue that he awoke to his enlightenment at some point, not even having ever known the ideas from India or the East. He may have. That would be an interesting paper to read, how he may have been influenced by such ideas. But I think at that time, ancient Greece was really opening up to extremely non-dual ideas or philosophical ideas. And they were, these Greek philosophers were really developing philosophically. And I think that's an extremely interesting group of people to study, because you say, oh, they're ancient, they don't know anything. But really, a lot of ancient philosophers have a lot of really wise things to say about wisdom, truth, life.
Yeah.